Hello everyone, how have you all been? In this lecture, I'll be covering cadences. A cadence is basically finishing a music sentence and how you finish it. Certain finishes have a certain feel, a certain emotion, and a certain use. And for those uses, we have terms and we have rules. What makes a finish satisfying, what makes it less satisfying, if it's missing something, and stuff like that. So we'll start off with the most common one, which is an authentic cadence. Authentic cadence is the most famous one. Authentic cadence, because it's basically the satisfying finish of the songs, and it's basically going down from the 5th degree chord of the scale, which is the dominant chord, to the 1st degree chord of the scale, which is the tonic chord. And in the case of the C major scale, that would be a G and a C. So let's do this. And here we have, nope, not here. A G chord or a dominant chord and a C chord. That makes an authentic cadence. It doesn't matter which scale you're using, an authentic cadence is going from the dominant chord to the tonic chord to finish a sentence, or to finish the song, or to finish whatever. Now, authentic cadence, and you can say that for other cadences, but it's not implied as much. There is an imperfect and imperfect version. What you see here is a perfect authentic cadence. Now, what makes it perfect? Okay, before I talk about the perfect, you can also use a G7th chord to finish a song, and that will also be perfect. That would be also considered an authentic cadence. So, fun fact about that. Also, G7th chord is used a lot because like the tension the F makes in this chord, because it's a 7th away from the G, and its solution is very satisfying. So anyways, a perfect authentic cadence. Now, what makes a perfect authentic cadence? What makes it is two things. We have two rules to say it's a perfect cadence. First rule: both chords are in root positions. We don't have any inverted chords. Like the last two chords, they need to be not inverted. So in this case, we have a root position G and a root position C. And that makes a perfect authentic cadence. And that's one rule. The second rule is the lowest note of the tonic chord and the highest note are both a C. Both are a root note of the chord, or the tonic chord in this case. So let me write that down. In order to have a perfect cadence, we have two rules. First one: both chords are in root position. Second rule: in the tonic chord, the lowest and highest pitch is the root note or tonic note. So as you can see, both of these rules are here. Now, now what makes an imperfect cadence is, for example, if the C wasn't on the top and it was in the bottom, and we have to resolve the leading tone to a C, so then we have to drag the C note to an octave below. And now what we have is basically the C, and one of the C's is the lowest note still, but the other C isn't the highest note. That makes it imperfect. It has a little less satisfying feel as well. Now that's one thing, and the other thing is having an inverted chord. Let's say G6. So let's say we have a D chord, not a D chord, but just an inverted C. Nope, we'll just delete that. My bad. Because we have an inverted G chord, we have an imperfect cadence. Also sounds kind of horrible, not gonna lie. Yeah, it sounds really weird. Yeah, it sounds horrible, and it's right. I'm not seeing any issues. Weird. Okay. And if, for example, instead of that, we solve to a if the C is also not in a root position, even if the G is, it's still imperfect cadence. So a little hot take on the authentic cadence. Some people say if we're in a minor context and we have a 7th degree chord going, of course, in a 7th degree in its in a 7th chord degree is also an imperfect authentic cadence. That's a hot take, of course, but some people consider it because of the leading tone. And of course, we need to have a sharp in here. Accidentals, we need a sharp. Yeah, not in here. Yeah, in here. So that's G sharp diminished. Seventh. I haven't covered a lot on the minor scale. I will that in the near future. And an A minor chord. That needs to be here. Some people say that's an authentic cadence, and I can see that. It's really satisfying. It has this satisfying context to it, but again, it's imperfect and it's highly not used. It's not used a lot, but it's fun to look at. Now the next cadence we'll be talking about is the plagal cadence. The plagal cadence is similar to the authentic cadence, but instead of going from the fifth degree chord to the first degree chord, we go from the 4th degree chord to the 2nd degree chord, which is also used a lot, but it just makes a less satisfying finish because the tonic chord still exists in both contexts. So in here we have an F chord. And we have a C. Because the C still exists in both, it makes a less satisfying finish like the like it's not like the dominant where we moved away from the home chord and we return to the home chord. It's basically somewhat staying in the home chord and then just, it's like being out of the garden and coming back home. It feels like that basically, but it works. Just a little less satisfying, but also what makes it less satisfying is the fact that we don't have a leading tone. The missing leading tone makes it a little less satisfying. And hold on, I'm gonna actually make a whole just tips. Authentic cadence, 5th degree to 1st degree, plagal cadence, 4th degree to the 1st degree. That also works in minor context. I'll cover minor really soon. Just but cadences in both minor and major are more or less the same. Now let's talk about the second one, which would be half a cadence. Half a cadence is basically when half a cadence. Half a cadence is basically when you finish the sentence on the dominant chord of the scale, and it's not done like a usual cadence, because usual cadence you just go back to the tonic scale. It's done basically in a sort of walking. It's like walking basically to the 5th degree and staying there. So for example, let's do an inverted 2nd degree or a 4th degree and a 5th degree. No, first degree inverted chord and a 5th degree again. And in here, let's do this. And in here, let's do a 2nd chord, which is a minor chord. And let's go back. So in this case, you can double the G chord, because we want an authentic cadence, a half cadence, so we want that feel. So that would be not here. So that would be a C chord. D minor 6th. C 4/6. 6/4 technically. And G. And that's a half cadence. It's basically just finishing whatever sentence you're making on the 5th degree. Finishing the sentence on the dominant chord. Now let's talk about the last cadence, which it is a deceptive cadence. It's called deceptive cadence because because at some point we go to the 5th degree of the scale, the dominant chord, and instead of going to the 1st chord, we go to another chord to finish the sentence. That's why it's called deceptive. Usually, generally, we go to the 6th degree of the scale, which is a minor chord. But if it's deceptive, like the term deceptive is basically when you go from a fifth to any other chord that isn't a tonic. But what people will usually do is just go to the tonic chord, to the sixth degree submedian chord. So let's show you an example. That's an F. That's a G. So that would be a C. That would be an F. That would be a G. And that would be an A minor. So in the deceptive cadence, you need to, if you're going to the sixth degree, why do they go to the sixth degree? Because it has a C chord. And in this case, the C chord is doubled. So it gives the feeling of a tonic without it actually being a tonic. But usually afterwards, you do something kind of similar and you just go back to the tonic. So let's give another example. Just continue on. Let's say you go to F, then a G, then a C. Nope, my bad. No, we need, oh, that's okay, that's an F, that's why. So we need a fourth degree actually. And then a G, and a C. So that would be an F. That would be a G. That would be a C. So I think you understand the concept. It's basically going from they deceive you to think they're gonna finish the song. They don't. They do something small and then they finish the song. So that's the idea of deceptive cadence. Going, finishing a sentence on by going from the dominant chord to anything but the tonic chord, and that's a deceptive cadence. But again, generally speaking, it's usually sixth degree, usually submediant. So that's it for cadences. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, you can ask anything. It's an important topic to get into and remember very well. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.